Hi, Genies. It's Fisher. Before we get started, just a quick thank you for getting Extreme Genes to where it is today. We're on radio stations all over America, and our podcast is growing exponentially. I'm often asked, what can I do to support Extreme Genes? Well, that's easy. Become a part of our Extreme Genes Facebook community and like our page. Share the podcast with your friends. Follow us on Twitter. And most importantly, support our sponsors through links on our website. They're the best in the business. Thanks again. Now let's get on to this week's podcast.
Are you digging up the dirt on your dad? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers, nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Great family history stories and information are on the way now with Extreme Genes, Family History Radio, and extremegenes.com.
Grandpa stole his first buggy in 1892. I met your grandma pig slopping in 46.
Oh, every Christmas we'd visit my Uncle Fred in prison.
Hello, Genies, and welcome to another spine-tingling episode of Extreme Genes, America's family history show at extremegenes.com. It is Fisher here, the radio root sleuth, on the program where we shake your family tree and watch the nuts fall out. Well, I am excited. We got some incredible guests today, as usual. The first one is one of the guys we told you about last week who helped confirm the location of the execution site of the victims of the Salem witch trials in 1692. He's going to talk to us about how they figured this out, the lines of sight, the technology that was used. It's fascinating stuff. You're not going to want to miss my visit with Emerson Baker of Salem State University coming up in about 8 or 10 minutes. Then later in the show, Stan Lindis from heritageconsulting.com is back. He's going to talk about terms you're going to run across in your research that don't necessarily mean what you think they mean. It's fun stuff coming up. Plus, don't forget, we got RootsTech coming up just around the corner in Salt Lake City, Utah. Hope you're going to be there. I'm going to be there. I know David Allen Lambert from the New England Historic Genealogical Society is going to be there. We hope you'll come by and say hello. And get ready for our cruise, our family history cruise out of Boston to Nova Scotia in September. We want to get you signed up for that. It's on our Facebook page. All the information you need for that right now. Let's go to Boston and find out what's happening with David Allen Lambert, the chief genealogist for the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org. Hello, David.
Greetings from Beantown, Fish. How are you?
You know, I am doing so well. I've already had so many amazing discoveries this year. For instance, just recently found out that a third cousin to my dad had married a guy named William Deegan in New York City back at the beginning of the last century. Turns out William Deegan was Major Deegan. Major William Deegan, the Major Deegan Expressway that goes past Yankee Stadium.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I think as a New York baseball fan, you must appreciate that greatly.
I did appreciate that greatly. I thought that was kind of a strange find, but, you know, every year has something new that's kind of unique.
Just 2 days ago, I found the adoption from my wife's great-great-grandfather in Quebec and never had found that before, and turned out they're not French-Canadian after all. They're Irish.
Who knew? And you've been looking for, what, 30 years?
About 25.
25? Not bad. That's a great find. So this is something that's disturbing me. There's this story out about this study they did of college grads, 25 to 34 years old, and it turns out that 10% of them believe that Judge Judy sits on the Supreme Court.
Oh, yeah, I saw the same story. I think it's the same one that talks that only 60% of the college students say that Thomas Jefferson actually was the father of the Constitution.
No, that was the Declaration.
And, you know, I think another statistic said something about 20% of the students couldn't identify what the direct effect of the Emancipation Proclamation was.
Ooh, that's a little disturbing.
I hope we don't have to poll the listeners, that all of our listeners know that that was the end of slavery.
Yeah, I know they all know that. You know, this is another reason why you want to get your kids involved in family history, because once they begin to identify and understand their connections back to these times, history has a greater meaning to them, and things like this will not be lost to your kids.
We You mentioned things about getting lost. One of my first family history news stories for you is some sad and scary news out in Madison, Wisconsin, that all those earthen burial mounds of the Native Americans, shaped like bears and deer and birds and people, etc., are in jeopardy now.
Really?
There's actually a bill, Fish, that's before the legislature to actually cause it to perhaps be built upon. They could be dug into, and pot hunters, which is the term we use in archaeology, could go in there and be looking for burial remains and grave goods. I would hate to think that 500 years from now, the colonial graveyards of our ancestors are going to be besieged by metal detectors or pot hunters.
Wow.
It's scared.
It's really, not only a horrible thing for those affected, obviously the Native Americans. They're Americans, first and foremost. What are these people thinking? I mean, that's insane.
The first Americans. Well, and the idea of preservation, I'm happy to announce that NEHGS, in conjunction with the Congregational Library, the Archives, the Phillips Library of the Peabody Essex Museum, and the Connecticut Conference of the United Church of Christ, have received a grant of over $200,000 to help preserve and digitize 28,000 pages of church records, from diaries, pastoral records, dating from 1641 to the mid-1800s. That's exciting, because a lot of vital records are available online, but a lot of the details of the church records of colonial New England are not.
Right, and that really was the vital record archive of New England.
It absolutely was. So hopefully there's some new discoveries waiting to be found in this 28,000 pages that are being worked on right now. So that's exciting. And, sometimes your discoveries don't have to be in archives. They can be on eBay. We all have a black sheep in the family, and myself not excluded. And it's scary to think that I could search for a particular relative on eBay for his or her mugshot. I have seen countless, dozens upon dozens of, from 19th century mugshots right down to ones that were taken in the 50s and 60s that are basically deacquisitioned from police departments like Scranton, Pennsylvania. If any of the listeners have family from there and have a black sheep in the family, go on eBay. I've seen dozens of pictures right now. In technology, there's a company called Livestream that is releasing this month something called Movie, M-O-V-I, and what it will do is it's a camera that you can shoot from multiple angles. So say, for instance, you have a family reunion and you want to catch all those cousins and the kids running around, or get multiple people being interviewed at the same time. This little device, for about $200 or less, will allow you to do that, and that's brought to you by Livestream. Of course, NEHGS every week offers a free guest user database, and this is the final week of our January release for the 3 big databases that we offer just to become a guest user of AmericanAncestors.org, and that includes Massachusetts vital records from 1841 to 1910, New Hampshire vital records to 1937, and Vermont vital records from the earliest time right through 2008. From NEHGS for our listeners, and signing off from Beantown. See you in a couple of weeks at RootsTech.
All right. Thank you so much, David. And coming up next, I'm going to talk to Professor Emerson Baker of Salem State University about his contribution in identifying and confirming the location of the execution site of the victims of the Salem witch trial. That's coming up in 3 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Well, Genies, my personal family history researcher who sends me new information day and night has sent me some incredible new records and newspaper stories lately. Hi, it's Fisher, and the name of that researcher, by the way, is myheritage.com. It's the hardest working service in genealogy, looking for records of your family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yes, even while you're sleeping. How does it work? MyHeritage uses hundreds of algorithms to match your ancestors to over 5 billion records from around the world, and with 97% accuracy. That means no more wasting time figuring out whether or not a match really is a match. I hear from listeners all the time who are shocked with how much information is accurately found and then passed along. And now MyHeritage will translate your ancestors' names into English or any other language you like from foreign records. In fact, it works with over 40 languages. No one else does this. Whether you're a beginner or seasoned researcher, you need myheritage.com.
Here it comes, the 6th Annual RootsTech Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, February 3rd through 6, 2016, at the Salt Palace Convention Center. The conference, hosted by Family Search International, is the largest family history and technology conference in the world. This year's theme will be celebrating families across generations. It's the perfect place to be inspired to discover, preserve, and share family connections and stories across generations, past, present, and future. At RootsTech, you'll find some 200 engaging classes with experts from all over the world. Enjoy daily sessions with well-known keynote speakers and learn all about the new tools available to help you in your journey in the massive exhibition hall. Passes start at $29. For more information and to register, visit rootstech.org. Hope to see you February 3rd through 6th in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andMe.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andMe.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andMe.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andMe.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andMe.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andMe.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andMe.com.
And welcome back to America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, the Radio Root Sleuth. And, of course, last week we were talking with David Allen Lambert from the New England Historic Genealogical Society about this amazing confirmation in Salem, Massachusetts, about the location of where the accused witches were actually hung. And I'm very excited to have on the line with me right now Emerson Baker. He's a professor at Salem State University. He's one of the people who was part of the team that made this confirmation. How are you, Professor?
Good. Glad to be with you, Scott.
I sure appreciate your coming on. And I know we have so many people who descend from some people, lots of individuals associated with the Salem witch trials. I know I'm one of them. David is one of them. Perhaps you do too. But I run into them all the time. People who descend from the accused, the accusers, the judges, the juries. It is just amazing how far-reaching that particular incident is. And for you as an historian, this had to be quite a fun thing and an exciting thing for you to be a part of, to finally confirm what has been known for some time, but you've actually added some new scientific leverage to it to confirm where these people met their ends.
I really wasn't prepared for how powerful it would be, the reaction we got from people. We've such an overwhelming and amazing response, in particular from descendants. And yes, you're right. I'm a descendant as well. I actually am a descendant of Roger Toothaker, who died in prison. He never made it to the gallows, actually. He died while awaiting trial.
Were any men actually hung in this situation?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I believe, actually like 5, including, of course, the most famous Reverend George Burroughs,
yes,
the ex-minister of Salem. So in most cases of witchcraft, including Salem, about 80% of the accused are women, so it really is kind of a female crime. And Salem sticks right to that as well, too. But you talked about how many descendants there are. A year or so ago, I wrote a book on the witch trials called A Storm of Witchcraft, and in it, I talk a little bit about the witch city and the whole phenomenon and why it's so well known today. And to me, one of the reasons I think it's so well known is because there are so many descendants. I mean, if you think that there were more than 150 accused, more than 200 accusing them, more than 200 defending them, more than 50 judges and jurors, and numerous other people involved, that when I give a talk, I say, if you don't have an ancestor who was involved in the Salem witch trials, the person sitting next to you probably did. They really,
right.
It really is our event, our tragedy, a national tragedy, not just Salem's, because if you think about it, you multiply those people and go out 9, 10, 11 generations, and that's a lot of descendants.
So as you went about this, obviously it's been known, or at least strongly suspected for a long time, that this area of Proctor's Ledge in Salem was the location. What did you have to do to confirm this conclusion from the past, and who came to that conclusion some time back?
Right. Well, we were really working on the work of the great Salem historian of the early 20th century, Sidney Perley, who in 1921 had written an article where he really felt that even though people had placed it, there'd been a kind of a collective amnesia, I think, as they'd forgotten where the execution site was. And Perley reviewed all the facts, all the documents, no direct evidence, but a lot of just sort of hints as to where it might be. And he was pretty sure that it was Proctor's Ledge, which is actually on the lower part of Gallows Hill. And ironically, a few years later, in 1936, the city of Salem actually purchased a small piece of land there specifically to build a memorial. But I think at the time there were some people that were still hesitant about, who would rather literally bury this than remember it. And nothing ever happened. And people continue to believe it's the top of Gallows Hill. It's this location as opposed to another. And we were brought together about 5 years ago, a team of us, of historians and scholars, to work with the city to see if we couldn't come up with the actual site. And that's what we've been working towards since late 2010.
Now, you were on a committee of about 7, yes?
Yes, and that included particularly where there were other historians who were expert in the Salem witch trials, Marilyn Roach, who's written extensively about this, several books, Benjamin Ray of the University of Virginia, myself, and the other important scholar we had working with us was my colleague in the geology department at Salem State here, Professor Peter Sablock, who used some of his remote sensing techniques as well, too. So it really was kind of a team effort using not only the traditional histories and the documents, but some other new things that Perley couldn't have done.
Well, tell us about that, some of the scientific things. What could you detect using modern equipment in that area of Proctor's Ledge?
Well, the most important thing was the work done by Viewshed Analysis, GIS work with aerial photography that was done by Benjamin Ray and his people working with him at the University of Virginia. Viewshed Analysis, simply put, is you can take an aerial photograph and determine, with topographic features, and determine what lines of sight people have. And we were able to figure out, we know there were several kind of distant eyewitnesses to the witch executions, and knowing approximately where they were, we were able to determine through viewshed analysis what parts of Gallows Hill they could or could not see. And indeed, many people have placed the top of Gallows Hill as the location, and we didn't like that for a lot of reasons I could get into if you want, but the real clincher was the fact that from where these people were standing, they could see the lower part of Gallows Hill around Proctor's Ledge, but they could not see the much more distant top of Gallows Hill, which really helped us pin down the location.
So do you think that was the one thing that really kind of, to use an expression, put it over the top?
Yes, it did. But I also think, too, frankly, Marilyn and Ben and I have studied the witch trials for many, many years. And for the three of us to all look at the documents, which are now available online at the University of Virginia website, and to sort of kind of independently arrive at that and look at Perley's research and then compare our notes and argue it out, that was important as well. And the other piece, too, that was really important, of course, once we determined this a couple of years ago, we were pretty sure, frankly, as sure as we're ever going to be, we're never going to have that direct evidence, I don't think. But then the next question we knew that people would logically ask is, well, what happened? Where are our ancestors who were the victims? What happened to the people? So that's where Peter and his geology students came in and did what we call geoarchaeological remote sensing, soil resistivity, and particularly ground-penetrating radar, going over the grounds at Gallows Hill to see was there any evidence of human remains that could lie buried on the hillside.
Now, Gallows Hill is obviously misnamed because you've concluded that there were no gallows involved, yes?
There were no gallows involved, exactly. And in fact, actually, Peter's research, the good news was, first off, there's really nothing that we could find on this piece of land. No evidence of any archaeological features, no physical evidence of a gallows being constructed there. And in fact, actually, there's very little dirt on Gallows Hill, no more than a foot or so. Most of it, if you've seen the pictures, is just sort of naked ledge.
Sure.
So kind of the relief to us was that there really doesn't seem to be any evidence of any human remains on the property. And once we knew that, we knew we could really responsibly announce our findings. We didn't want anybody running to Gallows Hill with their shovels or anything like that.
Oh, yeah, that would be disturbing.
This is Salem, Massachusetts, right? I mean, it's a different kind of place.
Now, this is...
Scott, I should say, I kid about that a little bit. I just met with a lot of the local tour guides this morning, and frankly, people here want to be very respectful and are very concerned about paying proper respect and not turning this into a tourist attraction. And that's what this is about. This is about marking the site and seeing that it's cared for. We don't want it lost again, but this is not another tourist dot on Salem's map. And that's really important to all of us.
Right. Well, first of all, it's a residential neighborhood now, is it not?
Yes, honestly, that is part of it. It's not just being respectful to the deceased we want to get just a simple monument there, but it's also literally in people's backyards. It's a postage stamp of a lot that's probably no more than about a quarter of an acre, and you were quite literally looking into about the back doors and windows of about a half dozen homes.
How do they feel about this?
You know, it's interesting. Some of them have known about it for a long time and have been very protective and are pleased about that. One of the fellows whose family has lived there for a couple of generations told me proudly about how the day this big black limo pulled up and he could look in the back window and see Yoko Ono, and as he said, and that Beatle. So, you know, I mean, they take great pride in that, and they've kind of kept it safe because they kind of knew that was the location. But some of the neighbors are genuinely concerned. It's a narrow one-way street. They're really concerned about people parking there or coming in and disturbing the site. So we're trying to be respectful of them, and the city is working carefully with the neighbors and any other interested parties, including the descendants, in planning for the site, seeing whatever kind of light and fencing we might need to safeguard the neighbors to keep the parcel protected, but at the same time to be able to have a site that's respectful of the horrible event that happened here. And those brave 19 people who refused to change their beliefs, it would have been so easy to say they were a witch and would have lived, because only the people who pled not guilty were executed, but they refused to do that. So this really is an important memorial to those people who were really Christian martyrs.
Do you see perhaps a ceremony that's done on a semi-annual or annual basis so that you're not spreading it out throughout the course of the entire year?
Well, the good news is, ever since the 300th anniversary, we already have a really wonderful memorial in town. It's administered by the Salem Award Foundation, who actually every year gives a major award for human rights activism in honor of the victims of 1692. So we're trying to encourage people to go to that really wonderful memorial on a regular basis. But having said that, if people come, especially across the country from Salem, we know that they may want to visit the site. I've already had a lot of descendants contact me that want to be there for when this site is dedicated. Also, too, in Salem, you may know this, there's a substantial Wiccan community. And in the past, every year on Halloween, which is Samhain, their high holy day, the fall solstice, they do have a ceremony up on Gallows Hill as well. They may well want to try to move that to this location. But again, it's a very small spot, so it isn't the kind of place where you can bring a couple hundred people together very easily. So it needs to be accessible to some degree, and these are the kinds of things that we're still working out. And again, only after we announce this can we start talking to the community and all the stakeholders and see what is the proper long-term plan for this site.
How many people living in Salem right now are descended from people involved in this incident?
Well, let me put it this way. I can't give a lecture without a couple people at the end coming up. In my book, I estimate, I'll bet you there are at least 100 million people who were around the world who had some relative involved in the Salem witch trials. And I really don't think, if your family's been in New England more than a generation or two, it's hard not to have some connection to it. It really is.
He's Professor Emerson Baker. He's the author of A Storm of Witchcraft, the Salem Witch Trials and the American Experience. Thank you so much for coming on and talking about this amazing experiment that has resulted in the confirmation of a very unique place in American history.
Oh, you're welcome, Scott, and we'll keep informed as the process moves forward.
Sounds great. And coming up next, our good friend Stan Lindis from heritageconsulting.com talking about terms you're going to run across in your research that don't mean what you think. It's going to be a lot of fun. In 5 minutes on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks. Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chart Masters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartMasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chart Masters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style of genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chart Masters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chart Masters today at FamilyChartMasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chart Masters will give the greatest care to your family history.
And we are back. America's Family History Show, Extreme Genes and ExtremeGenes.com. It is Fisher here, the Radio Root Sleuth. Always good to have my good friend Stan Lindis back in the house from HeritageConsulting.com. Hi, Stan. How are you?
I'm just great. Thanks, Fish, for having me.
Now, I'm very excited about this topic because I think for anybody who's ever researched, we've all run into something at one time or another, whether we were a baby genealogist or an expert, where you look at a word in your research and you go, oh, what does that mean?
Exactly.
Or I must be misinterpreting what I'm seeing here.
Right.
And you've got a whole host of these things to share, and this is really good stuff.
We've got a bunch to share, but I loved the way you phrased it when you were introducing me, was that, you asked the question, what does this mean? So many people don't even bother to ask the question. They just blow over the word and keep moving.
Or they assume they know what it means and they interpret it as such.
Or as I did when I was a child learning to read, if I didn't understand the word, instead of going to the dictionary,
right?
I just kept going, hoping I'd get it out of the context.
Sure.
Or that I'd develop it. But there are so many different aspects to this where you see something and you don't understand it that can affect and help you if you go and investigate, that can help you in your research. There are colloquialisms that are so geographically specific that it can put you into, let's say, southern Indiana. If you read something in a family history, if you don't recognize or you think it is a rather quaint phrase that you've just read.
Quaint?
From Northern Illinois, it's quaint. There's an example. What
is that?
If you heard it's something unique and interesting.
Right.
If you heard that word, you probably could assume that the individual came from Northern Illinois.
Here's one. When I lived in Ohio for a time, in the Cincinnati area, if people didn't understand you, they'd say, please?
Yes.
Now, you don't hear that anywhere else in America.
Yeah.
But you did there. And I remember when I first heard it, it's like, please, what?
What did I do? What do you want me to do?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it can go so far as to delineate the difference between a soldier in the Union Army or in the Confederate Army. Names of battles.
Right. That's right.
I'll give you the reason, and then I'll give you a list of different battles, and you'll be able to more clearly figure out what side of the war these people were on.
Okay.
The Union people ostensibly were more refined and citified, and so they were not so enamored with buildings and villages and structures, man-made things. And so they named the battles after creeks, hills, topographical formations. The Confederacy, on the other hand, were rural country boys, and supposedly they were more inclined and enamored with the cities and towns. And so they would name the same battle after a town or a tavern or a village or a bridge, something of that nature.
Interesting.
So I'm going to give you some names of battles, and you try to tell me which side it came from. Okay?
I am ready, yes.
Manassas.
That was Bull Run. I know that. So Manassas must have been the South.
Yes.
Yeah. But the North won, so we know it today as Bull Run,
right.
Yes?
Right. Leesburg.
Leesburg must have been the Southern term for something. Was that Gettysburg?
No, that was Ball's Bluff.
Ball's Bluff. Never heard of that one.
Yeah, that's the Union term.
Okay.
Guess who won? Logan's Crossroads.
That would probably be the Union's version of it.
The Confederate version is Mill Springs.
Okay.
Elkhorn Tavern.
That's the Union.
Nope, that's the Confederacy.
Okay.
Pea Ridge.
All right.
That's the same
Same
battle. Gaines Mill.
So that must be the Northern
That's
version.
the Confederate.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, because it's a building.
It's a building.
I see.
Yep.
Okay, I'm getting this.
That's the same as Chickahominy.
Oh, boy. Don't even go there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could go with Second Manassas. Can you get that one? Or Second Bull Run.
Second Bull Run,
yeah.
right?
Let's see. Boonesboro.
So that's the Southern version.
That's the Southern version.
Yep.
The Northern version is South Mountain.
I get the pattern here.
You get the pattern.
So if you read a letter, or you were to inherit a letter or find one on eBay written by a soldier, you could interpret which side they were on just by the way they refer to the battles.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely. Another one. Gone to Texas. What's that mean to you?
It means I'm heading south.
That you're heading south.
Yeah.
During the Civil War, there were two towns on either side of the Ohio River, one in Kentucky, one in Ohio. And as you might presume, the one in Ohio was a Union sympathizing town, and the one in Kentucky was Confederacy. Well, as the war drug on, many of the young men who served in both the Union and the Confederacy decided that the war was not the place they wanted to be, and they deserted. And so the various armies sent out agents looking for deserters, and they would go to these towns, and they would ask, "Where is your boy?" Well, the answer was, he's gone to Texas.
Right.
Well, he hadn't gone to Texas, as you and I know. There was an island in the middle of the Ohio between the two towns that the locals referred to as Texas. And at one point, there were 3,000 men on this island during the war.
Wow.
And so the agents had no idea where to go. They thought they had gone to the state of Texas. We have some words. Words are really interesting, and I think I referred to this in a previous episode. During the 1600s, I was looking for and found a probate record, and it was talking about a couple of women, Mary and Louise, and it said that they were gossips.
Gossips. Okay, so they were talkative girls.
Talkative girls.
Yes.
Wrong answer.
Okay.
In the 1600s, a gossip meant that you were a friend of one another or a business partner.
Did not know that.
In the 1600s, that's a big deal for women because before discovering that that's what it meant, I just thought it was a little bit of color, that they were talkers, you know. They were the Gladys Kravitzes of the neighborhood. And, and so, you know, I could put that in. But now, knowing that they could be business partners, I'm looking for records about them. And I did, in fact, find. And actually, the word gossip started out being used as one who was a sponsor at a baptism.
Who knew?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
You wouldn't ever think of this.
And you've been researching for how many decades, and this is new to you. It really kind of shows that we are all constantly learning when it comes to the research.
Try inmate. What's an inmate?
Well, an inmate to most people, I know what this one is because I've run into it, but an inmate to most people means you're locked up, you're held against your will.
Right. Generally speaking, in our day and age, that's exactly what it means.
Right.
In the past, what did it mean?
In the past, it meant that you were perhaps a patient in a hospital or an asylum or something like that.
Yes, but even before that, it meant that you were likely one who was hiring a room from someone else.
Interesting.
And it even goes further. It referred to a prostitute who frequently enters a house of ill repute to practice her trade.
That was an inmate.
That was an inmate.
Yeah, that's a bad one to misinterpret.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Stan, so good to see you again. Thank you for coming by. You got a big event coming up.
We do.
When is it?
March 11th and 12th in Salt Lake City, Utah, at the Plaza Hotel. The Ulster Historical Foundation from Belfast, Ireland, Executive Director and Research Officer will be there teaching classes all day on the 11th. Then on the 12th, we have this British staff from the Family History Library and professional researchers who specialize in Irish research who will help you learn how to discover where in Ireland this drunken Irishman came from.
Good stuff. Where do they find out more about this?
heritagejourneys.net.
All right. Sounds great. Stan,
Thanks
good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on. And coming up in 3 minutes, we talk to Tom Perry from TMCPlace.com, the Preservation Authority. You know, every year he reports what he finds at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas that applies to family history. Get his latest report for this year coming up next on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Hi, Genies. It's Fisher. So excited to tell you about our very first Extreme Genes Family History Cruise, September 13th through 18th, 2016. We'll be leaving out of Boston on Royal Caribbean with stops in Bar Harbor, Maine, St. John, New Brunswick, and Halifax, Nova Scotia. On days we're at sea, join me and David Allen Lambert, Chief Genealogist of the New England Historic Genealogical Society and AmericanAncestors.org, for lectures and roundtables on several genealogical topics. See where your patriot ancestors fought in the Revolution, or where your loyalist ancestors claimed their new homes. For pricing, go to our Extreme Genes Facebook page or visit extremegenes.com. Now is the time to make your reservations, because when the cabins are gone, they're gone. Call Robin at Columbus Travel at 1-800-373-3328, extension 1010. And be sure to ask her about our special pre-cruise excursion in Boston. David and I look forward to seeing you.
Extreme Genes is sponsored in part by 23andMe.com, a personalized genetic service that helps you understand what your 23 pairs of chromosomes, your DNA, say about you. 23andMe.com gives you a snapshot view of your DNA with more than 60 detailed reports on your health, traits, and ancestry, plus tools to explore and compare your DNA with family and friends. 23andMe.com is the first and only genetic service available directly to you that includes reports that meet FDA standards. Here's how it works. Order your DNA kit from 23andMe.com. Provide your saliva sample from home and mail it back to a CLIA-certified lab. Then you'll be notified when your reports are ready online. You'll also receive ongoing reports as new genetic discoveries are made and as 23andMe.com is able to clear new reports through the FDA. See why more than 1 million people are experiencing their genetics with 23andMe.com. Order your DNA kit today at 23andMe.com.
Here it comes, the 6th annual RootsTech Conference in Salt Lake City, Utah, February 3rd through 6, 2016, at the Salt Palace Convention Center. The conference, hosted by Family Search International, is the largest family history and technology conference in the world. This year's theme will be celebrating families across generations. It's the perfect place to be inspired to discover, preserve, and share family connections and stories across generations, past, present, and future. At RootsTech, you'll find some 200 engaging classes with experts from all over the world. Enjoy daily sessions with well-known keynote speakers and learn all about the new tools available to help you in your journey in the massive exhibition hall. Passes start at $29. For more information and to register, visit rootstech.org. Hope to see you February 3rd through 6 in Salt Lake City, Utah.
And welcome back to Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. It is Fisher here, the radio root sleuth. It is time to talk preservation with Tom Perry from TMCPlace.com, our preservation authority. And Tom, you're always up on what's going on at the Consumer Electronics Show, which just ended, a few weeks ago. And did you find some things that relate to family history there?
Oh, they had a ton of stuff there. It's absolutely incredible. One of the neatest things you can tie into family history, it's a monitor, but all it is a sheet of glass. Absolutely pure, clear glass.
Okay.
You could make a coffee table out of it. You could make a fireplace cover in kitchens where you have the glass where you have your knickknacks. It looks like a regular sheet of glass. But then when you fire it up, it becomes completely opaque, and it's 4K television.
No kidding, really?
It is the most absolutely incredible thing you have ever imagined. I mean, the uses for something like this is just amazing. In your kitchen, it just looks like it's some glass in your window that goes out in the backyard. You flip the switch, it goes opaque, and you're watching 4K television.
Could you go Bluetooth with that?
Oh, I'm sure you can.
Really?
I don't know why you couldn't.
So you get a video from kids that's showing the grandkids.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Or you got a video of your own kids and you want to fire it up from your phone and you could actually watch it in the kitchen window while you're doing the dishes.
Absolutely. Whether you're doing FaceTime, whether you're doing any of these different company things, talking to your boss, whatever, and you're just sitting there doing your own thing, and you could hook up a camera to it so it could be two-way communication.
That's insane.
Oh, it is. And like you say, it's not like, you're going to be seeing things through the glass when the TV comes on. It becomes totally opaque. So all you're seeing is a television, so you're not seeing your backyard or whatever is in that window.
But otherwise, it's clear.
Oh, yeah. It's just normal glass. There's no weird thing like a piece of polarized glass or something. It's totally clear, which one day I'm sure they're somehow going to bring them into cars.
Well, it'd have to be a self-driving car, right?
Oh, exactly.
Because you can't be doing that.
Oh, they had those too. But I mean, like on some of the cars, like the convertibles, you have this glass sheet that comes up between the front and the back seats so you don't get the wind whipping around. The guys in the back seat could be watching television behind your head.
Yeah, maybe an Uber cab or something.
Exactly. Or limos. Mm-hmm. This would be perfect to have in limos.
Sure. All right, what else did you see?
They have these 360-degree cameras now.
Yes, I heard about that.
It is amazing, and they're small enough that you can put them on a drone. So if you're at a family reunion and you want to get some sky shots, you can do that. If you're at a cemetery where a lot of your family's buried, you can take those up. And if you want to go and actually see a video that's created, go to videomaker.com, which we talk about all the time. If you have an old homestead that you lived on or an old home in the neighborhood, you could take these drones up with this 360-degree camera and shoot your old house, your backyard. It's just amazing what you can do with these. And the prices have really come down a lot. When I first saw this, I'm sitting there thinking, how many thousands of dollars is this going to be? They have some starting out as little as $400.
No kidding.
Absolutely incredible. In fact, there's one that's actually what they call a virtual reality camera. And with all the whistles and bells, it's $900.
Wow.
It's just, I cannot believe the prices, how these things are coming down. And the one that's about $400, it's the reinvented Kodak. They're the ones that make that, and it's absolutely incredible. It's called PixPro SP360. That's PixPro SP360. And you go to Kodak's website. You can go to Videomaker's website. But can you just imagine the things you can do? This is like 920 by 1080 video, so it's good high quality. In fact, it can be 4K capability. For a 360 camera, it shoots at 30 frames per second. And one of the neat things about this, which you can relate to, when you put it in still mode, it doesn't just take one frame, it takes several frames. So in the instance where we transferred that old film for you, they had you, your father, your uncle, and your brother in the picture, and you only found one where everybody was looking at the camera. This would do the same thing, so you're not taking a picture and say, Debbie was looking away, Shawnee was looking away. You can see all the things together. It's amazing. And after the break, we'll go into some more detail on CES.
All right, exciting stuff. Coming up on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show.
Looking for an easy way to show off your family history and share it with your family? Family Chartmasters offers beautiful custom pedigree art pieces and inexpensive family reunion draft charts in any design or size that fits your needs. With a free consultation at FamilyChartmasters.com, you can get started creating a new family masterpiece. Family Chartmasters has over 11 years of experience in creating and printing family charts. They can print any style genealogy chart from any genealogy file and can create exactly what you're looking for. You'll work with a specialized and talented consultant whose goal is to make you happy. Decorative charts make fantastic gifts for all occasions. And with Family Chartmasters' option of ordering duplicate charts at half price along with your original purchase at full price, you can afford to give a family heirloom to each member of your family. Contact Family Chartmasters today at FamilyChartmasters.com for your free consultation. Family Chartmasters will give the greatest care to your family history.
When was the last time you heard your grandmother's voice or saw your family enjoying life back in the 1950s or 60s? If the reason is you haven't known what to do with your old recordings, videos, and films, here's your answer. The Multimedia Center in Salt Lake City.
We brought in a video project to the Multimedia Center, and overnight they duplicated it to DVD so we could meet our deadline.
The Multimedia Center, 2870 East, 3300 South, Salt Lake City. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6. Call 801-483-1717 or go to transferduplication.com. TMCPlace.com.
Scientific studies have proven that youth who know even a little bit about their family history perform better academically and have a greater sense of personal confidence and stability. Genealogy is its own incredible superpower that arms our children with super strength. But how do you get your child or grandchild interested in studying their family history? That kind of stuff is just for grandmas, right? Not anymore. ZapTheGrandmaGap.com leaps the generation gap in a single bound. Author Janet Havorka provides you with useful and timely advice on helping the young people in your life become engaged in their own family history. Janet has an entire collection of books to inspire the young and the young at heart in fun, interactive ways. She also offers creative tips and advice on her blog and in her free weekly newsletter. Stop by ZapTheGrandmaGap.com today to sign up for Janet's free email newsletter with 52 weeks of easy tips, free downloads, and order your set of resource books and workbooks.
And we're into our final segment on Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show, talking about preservation with Tom Perry from TMCPlace.com, our preservation authority. It is Fisher here. And Tom, we've been talking about the Consumer Electronics Show, which wrapped up in Vegas a couple of weeks ago, and all the different electronic devices that could apply to family history. And so far, you've given us a couple of amazing ones. What else do you have?
You know, it'd take us a year of shows just talking about CES to get through everything. So the best thing to do, like I say, go to magazines like Video Maker, go to CES.com and check out some of the new technology. Like we were talking about in the earlier segment about these cameras that shoot virtual reality, they shoot 360. And whenever you think of something like that, you think it's something big, but it's not. These are teeny cameras. They just hook on your drone. Like we said earlier, go shoot your old home that you grew up in. Look what the backyard looks like now, how the house is outside. One thing that you mentioned, which I've never thought about for family history, is look at MLS listings of your old house, right, and you'll be able to see what they've changed on the inside.
Yeah, I just did that a few weeks ago.
So it's absolutely incredible how you can put these things together, kind of put a timeline together, and just see, what's happened to your old place. But the Ricoh that we were talking about is a great camera to look at. The Kodak's a good camera to look at. And like we mentioned, go to videomaker.com. You can see some videos that they have and the awards that they've won. Another thing that's coming out, it's not actually released yet. This is a new imager. Right now, the difference between your iPhone and a good Nikon, there's a gap there. No question about it. But there's a new imager coming out that's called Quantum Film. It's going to be small. It's going to be less expensive. But it really tightens the difference between what your iPhone's going to be able to do and what a good quality Nikon's going to be like. The colors are so much better. It's going to be set for smartphones. The light performance is amazing. That's one thing I've had a problem with my iPhone is sometimes when I'm shooting video, the light doesn't come on, and so it's going to be too dark. With this new imager, you can shoot stuff in pretty much dark without having any kind of light whatsoever.
It corrects itself?
Oh, it does. And whether it comes out next year, 2 years, or 3 years, whatever, as fast as Apple moves, I think it's going to be pretty quick. It's professional quality. It's just absolutely incredible technology. The shutter's so much faster, so you don't get the kind of blur that you get sometimes with the other cameras. The image sensor that produces the color is incredible. The dynamic range that you get from your solid blacks to your pure whites is amazing. Your real blues look like blues. Your real greens look like greens, which a lot of times you take a picture and it's like, well, that's not really what that color is. I have to go into Photoshop and fix it. With this new image sensor, it is just incredible what it can do. Now, moving on from that, there's another new camera that's out that is really cool, and it's perfect for family reunions. It's called the Panasonic HCWXF991. Again, go to videomaker.com to get more information about it. But the neat thing about this is it's almost like a camera in a camera.
How's that work?
You have your main camera, then it's got like a secondary camera, which is on a swivel. So if you're narrating like through a family reunion, you turn it around on yourself. So you're shooting the main picture, oh, this is Aunt Margaret, and you can be shooting yourself too as the interviewer. And then when you actually go in and burn it, you can keep the picture in the picture, or you can make the picture in the picture go away. So it makes it great for doing interviews.
Well, you could probably use this then in the editing process for cuts, yes?
Oh, absolutely. That's what makes it so unique. The picture in the picture, of course, isn't going to be the same dynamic range as the main camera. It has a 1920 by 1080 image, and it's full 4K. So get on CES's website, get on Videomaker's website. If you have specific questions about any of that stuff, you can always email me at asktom@tmcplace.com, and I'm more than happy to help you.
All right, Tom. Always good to have you on, and we got to catch up on more of this stuff maybe next week.
Yeah, next week we'll do some more CES.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Good to be here.
Hey, that wraps up our show for this week. Thanks once again to Professor Emerson Baker from Salem State University for coming on and talking about his role in confirming the location of the hanging site for the Salem witches. Yes, those 16 who were accused back in 1692. Plus to Stan Lindis for coming on and sharing some terms you'll run across in your research that you might not quite understand exactly what they mean. Yeah, language is always changing. Take care. We'll see you next week. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.